In today's episode, let's talk about cooking classes and kitchen tours. I was recently partnered up with Neil Patel on a webinar we did for an organization, and the content of the webinar was good. It was fun. It was a lot of fun to do on SEO and where SEO and data science are going and how they can work together coming into 2023. But one of the things that struck me as we were delivering the material, as we were putting it together and delivering the material, was that it was sort of a landscape review. Here's the general process and outline for the major SEO tool categories. Then, a list of here are the tools within this category. And afterwards, when I looked at it, when I looked at the content, it occurred to me that we'd really kind of given a kitchen tour. Invite people into a chef's kitchen and say, okay, check out all these cool appliances and tools and some of these ingredients we use and things, and maybe a quick cooking demo or a quick tasting. But for the most part, people got a chance to see the inner workings of the kitchen, right? We keep the produce, here's the blender we use, here's the bread machine that we use, etc. But if you were looking for how to cook a specific dish, a kitchen tour is not going to be super helpful, right? A kitchen tour is going to be like, oh, cool. You use Viking or KitchenAid or whatever brand, or here's how maybe you have your kitchen layout done. It's not, hey, my bread's not rising. How do I fix this? Right? In the context of SEO, here's a bunch of different keyword tools. Well, keyword tools are cool. They're important. They are useful, but they are a tool, like a spatula or a frying pan. If you don't know how to cook, these things are not helpful. Right? If you don't know how to cook, knowing the difference between an anodized aluminum pan, a stainless steel pan, and a cast iron pan isn't super helpful. Like, it's an important difference, but if you can't cook at all, it's not going to help. If you are sitting there saying, well, I've got this carton of eggs, what do I do with them? A kitchen tour is not going to be super helpful. So one of the things that we have to be careful of as marketers, as professionals, as content creators, is understanding the intent of our audience. When does our audience want a kitchen tour? When does our audience want a cooking class? Right? If we're talking about things like data science, there's a gazillion and a half different tools and packages and libraries. I can foam at the mouth for hours on end. Here's this package, I use it for this in R, or here's this library in Python that you can use. But that's a kitchen tour. If you're saying, I've got a bunch of tweets that I need to process, a kitchen tour won't help you. What you want is a cooking class saying, I've got this raw ingredient. What can I do with it? I've got these tweets. How do I process them? And then we would step through, okay, well, let's load them up, make sure they're distinct, make sure that you have quantitative data in there of some kind. Let's do some natural language processing, split them into unigrams and bigrams, and then run frequency analysis to figure out which are the most common phrases or common words in this corpus, which was the most important based on the quantitative data you included. That's more like a cooking class to say, okay, let's take this thing and specifically cook this dish. Cooking classes are a lot more work. They are much more focused. They require more of the participant, of the audience. And depending on the skill of the presenter, they may not be super compelling, right? Think about on TV when you're watching cooking shows, if you watch cooking shows. You'll see people talk about some of the process, and then magically they'll pull a dish out of the oven and say, "Hon, here's the final result." We all know it takes 3.5 hours to cook that thing. Of course, we're not going to sit on TV and watch, wait for 3.5 hours for them. But in the omission of the process, that part of the process, we don't know what things might have gone right or wrong. So as we think about the content we create, when does somebody want a kitchen tour? When they want to see if what they've got in their kitchen matches up with yours. If they want to see if there's any tools they could be using that are better than what you've got. But they probably should already be cooking. They probably already are doing the task, whatever the task is. They probably should be doing it already and be proficient with the tools that they have, so that they can then see, is this tool that you're putting in front of me, or that we see in this training, is it quantitatively better, right? For example, if you're using a standard keyword tool and you see the MarketMuse system for doing semantic keywords, if you know how to do keyword analysis, you look at that and go, wow, that's better. That, no question, that is a better tool. And then you could make the decision like, yes, I want to go buy that tool, or no, I don't want to go buy that tool. But at least if you know your own kitchen, you look at that tool and go, that's a better tool. If you don't know how to cook, it's hard to make that decision. So from our end as professionals, we first have to figure out, do we want a kitchen tour, or do we want a cooking class? As content producers, we have to figure out what our audience wants and then produce the content that's going to be the most helpful to them. Kitchen tours, from a creator standpoint, kitchen tours are a good way to attract attention, to then guide people into specific cooking classes, right? So if you're creating content as a creator, that the kitchen tour will check a lot of boxes and be very flashy, but then people will get the value out of the cooking class. So if you're doing email marketing, the kitchen tour, here's all the vendors to help you with your deliverability and your semantic word choice and stuff, is fun. And then the cooking class is, okay, let's take a look at your emails and see how to make them better. So which are you interested in? Kitchen tour or cooking class? Which is your audience interested in? And what are you producing? Give that some thought. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you next time. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.